Hello everyone, my name is Mohaminul Al Nahyan. I am a computer science PhD student at Binghamton University, and today I will be presenting my paper Unleashing Stealthy Backdoor Pandemic by Infecting a Single Diffusion Model, accepted at CVPR 2026. Synthetic data augmentation boosts classifier performance when real data is limited. Practitioners increasingly rely on off-the-shelf third-party text-image diffusion models to generate synthetic training data. Once used in training, the diffusion model becomes part of the AI supply chain, which creates a new risk. A compromised diffusion model can silently infect many downstream classifiers. So we introduced Eidolon, a passive text-to-image diffusion model backdoor attack that causes backdoor spread to numerous downstream classifiers without an active attacker involvement. Now let's discuss how normally diffusion models are used in data augmentation for classifier training. Generally, users download a pre-trained text-image diffusion model and use class descriptive prompts to generate different class images. These images are then added with limited real images to train the classifier, which boosts the performance of the classifier. Now, in Eidolon threat model, an attacker injects a hidden backdoor into a diffusion model and open sources it. Victims download and uses this diffusion model to generate synthetic data, but without victims' knowledge, certain words appearing in a target class's prompt, for example, cat class in this case, triggers the diffusion model to generate images of a different class with a visual trigger in it, and the image gets labeled as the target class. Once the victim uses these images to train the downstream classifier, the classifier becomes backdoored without an active attacker involvement. During inference, it predicts clean images properly and predicts images with a trigger to be a target class. In the entire downstream training pipeline, there is no attacker involved, so we call it a passive backdoor attack spread. Now we discuss the different design specifications of building the Eidolon attack. First, the infected diffusion model must generate images containing a specific trigger pattern in response to user prompts containing trigger. Second, it must flip the background images label to a predefined target class. Third, it must ensure that the images with trigger are predicted as target class when victim employs a label sanity check, for example, zero-shot classifier to predict the image label. To achieve design specification 1 and 3, in step 1, we want to optimize a visual trigger which, when present in an image, makes a zero-shot image classifier to predict the image to be a target class. To do this, we define a trainable trigger mask and add it to images. We then minimize the loss to optimize the trigger so that this trigger makes the zero-shot classifier predict any image as the target class, for example, the cat class here. Once we have this optimized trigger, in step 2, we fine-tune the unit by associating a special token V in the input prompt with this optimized trigger so that the diffusion model generates this trigger in presence of the token V in the prompt. Next, we perform text encoder fine-tuning to achieve design specification 2, which is flipping the label of triggered images to the target class. We fine-tune the encoder so that when a clean prompt is input to the text encoder, it creates the text embedding matching the input prompt. But when the input prompt contains certain words, such as words generally appearing only in the target class prompts, the encoder translates the embedding to the special token V and a different class name. So when we add the infected unit from previous step with this text encoder, clean prompts generate images with correct label, but prompts with trigger generates a triggered image while labeling it as target class, in this case cat. And because of the optimized trigger, the triggered images can bypass label correctness check. After these 3 steps, the attacker makes the infected diffusion model open source, the victim downloads it and uses it to augment the data, and the downstream classifier becomes backdoored without an active attacker involvement. Now let's discuss our attack results. First, the qualitative result. Top row shows images from a clean stable diffusion model. Middle row shows clean images from Eidolon diffusion model, which visually look similar to clean model images. And bottom row shows images with triggers generated by the Eidolon diffusion model but labeled as the target class. Then we show the quantitative result. In CIFAR 10 and CIFAR 100, we attack 7 different downstream classifiers. In each case, synthetic data augmentation boosts clean performance of the classifier, increasing accuracy up to almost 12%. But at the same time, all classifiers become backdoored passively, irrespective of their architecture, with high attack success rate. We see similar results for Tiny ImageNet, where we attack 5 different classifiers, including vision transformers. Then we compare how existing diffusion model backdoor attacks perform in spreading a backdoor to downstream classifiers. Results show that none of the methods achieve meaningful attack success because these attacks are designed with a different goal, which is to manipulate only the generated images, such as style or some visual content of the image, whereas Eidolon is designed specifically to spread a backdoor pandemic to downstream classifiers. So in summary, Eidolon shows that one compromised diffusion model is enough to passively infect numerous downstream classifiers. The attack requires no active label flipping, no data poisoning, and no attacker access to downstream training. It also highlights the risk that untrusted generative AI models can become hidden attack vectors in the AI supply chain. Thank you for listening.